Saving lives with 3D technology, the San Diego company creating therapeutic tissue.
Cannabis is exiting prohibition, just like the alcohol industry. And sometimes I feel like we're pulling cannabis business out of its adolescence and into its adulthood.
Going gourmet with weed before voters decide the fate of recreational pot, the California business trying to develop the Napa Valley of marijuana.
We're extreme fans of Gilmore Girls. We watched it from day one when the show started.
Coffee cravings served with a side of nostalgia, the comeback story that left hundreds of people waiting this morning. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. A San Diego researcher and his team of seismologists have discovered a new earthquake fault near the Salton Sea. KPBS reporter Susan Murphy met up with him at Scripps Institution of Oceanography and has this report.
Southern California is an epicenter for earthquakes. It's estimated more than 12,000 small temblors hit the region every year. Now there's a discovery of a new, potentially significant fault line 120 miles east of San Diego. It runs parallel to the notorious San Andreas Fault.
It's located in the Salton Sea along the eastern margin.
Neil Driscoll is professor of geology and geophysics at Scripps Institution of Oceanography. He and his team recently mapped out the Salton Trough Fault. They spent hours for years in a boat on the Salton Sea collecting and analyzing data using a host of high-tech instruments.
And this fault has a component, what we call dip slip. It has a component of extension where the plates are pulling apart, as well as a component of strike slip like the San Andreas.
Driscoll says the fault could be as long as 40 kilometers, enough to produce a large magnitude quake.
Right now this fault, it appears geologically active. It has deformation in the sediments right up to the seafloor in the Salton Sea. But we don't know, we don't have any historical earthquakes on this fault. So we're still studying it, but faults of this length could engender a magnitude 6, maybe even a 7.
The new fault discovery comes as a swarm of more than 200 small to moderate quakes in the same vicinity triggered an alert from USGS of a potential major rupture on the San Andreas. Driscoll says there's no correlation between the new fault and the swarm. He says the swarm has died down and the alert has been lifted. He says San Diego County is surrounded by active faults capable of unleashing large earthquakes at any time, and it's important to have an emergency kit and 3 days of food and supplies on hand.
We do live in earthquake country, but remember, be prepared, not scared.
Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
The water may be running a little longer for those showers and car washes. There are new signs that Californians are slipping on their water savings. The statewide conservation rate was just under 18% in August. The same time last year showed Californians cutting water use by 27%. Now there are concerns that water agencies have abandoned their focus on conservation during the drought.
Our board will be reviewing in January where things stand with the snowpack through the winter, and if we need to go back to something like that 25%, we will, and we expect Californians to then step back up and meet that target.
Under new regulations, water suppliers have to prove they have enough water to last through 3 years of drought. Plans to guide the long-term growth of the neighborhood of North Park in San Diego move forward today. That's despite concerns those plans could fall short of the city's climate action plan. The nonprofit Climate Action Campaign held a rally outside City Hall early this afternoon. The group finds the current North Park Community Plan update doesn't go far enough in getting people out of cars and encouraging them to bike, walk, or take public transit to work.
The city is poised to adopt long-term plans that are not climate friendly and make it impossible for the city to reach our climate targets. We cannot stand for that. we can and must do better.
With that, we will go.
Ultimately, the city's Smart Growth and Land Use Committee voted to advance. That means the plan could still face a delay if the council members aren't convinced the plan will meet San Diego's greenhouse gas reduction goals. Measure B authorizing construction of the Lilac Hills Ranch community in the unincorporated North County is attracting plenty of money and controversy. Already, there are accusations of an endorsement for sale and five-figure donations from a Mystery LLC. iNews reporter Joe Girardi has been following the money in this one. Joe, can you lay out for me the timeline of all of this, the $50,000 donation and then the county GOP's endorsement?
Sure. So on September 12th, the County Republican Party voted to endorse Measure B, the Lilac Hills Ranch Development Project. And on September 20th, the developer of that project, Accretive Investments, made a $50,000 donation to the Republican Party.
And what do Republican Party leaders have to say about this donation?
So I spoke with the chairman of the county GOP, Tony Kravaric, and he said the $50,000 contribution was really more like two payments. $10,000 for Accretive to sponsor a Republican fundraiser in September, a big event they put on every year, and then $40,000 to appear on the party's official voter guide that they mail out to all voters.
And what did Accretive have to say about this donation?
So Accretive didn't want to do an interview, but through a spokesman, they sent us a statement. And in that statement, they said the party's endorsement came before any donation was made, and that the company and its employees and senior executives had previously donated to both political parties.
And you combed through the documentation. What did you find about the donations?
Sure. So it's true Accretive had donated to the County Republican Party before, but it happened way back in 2011, and it was only for about $1,250.
So to get the county GOP endorsement, what's the perceived benefit of this?
Sure. Well, if you're a Republican voter living in a part of the county that's not anywhere near this development, you might not be familiar with it at all. And so if you're not familiar with Measure B and the merits for or against it, if you see that your party is telling you it's a good thing, vote yes, maybe you'd vote yes.
And what do opponents of Measure B have to say about this $50,000 donation?
Well, they view this whole chain of events with a lot of apprehension, as you can imagine. A couple of them told me basically that they think the Republican Party sold its endorsement to Accretive.
Wow. And then talk to me about the divide. There's a major gap in the funding for the campaign against Measure B versus for Measure B.
Yes, that's correct. So the campaign for Measure B is entirely funded by Accretive, the developer. They put $2.2 million into the committee that's got it on the ballot and is running advertisements in favor of it. The committee opposed to it has only raised about $100,000.
And for Accretive to donate $50,000 to the Republican Party that then endorses their plan that they have on the November ballot, is that breaking any rules or any laws?
No, it's all totally legal. It's absolutely, they were well within their rights and the law to make that contribution, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can see more of Joe's story online at inewssource.org. California's two Senate candidates are meeting up tonight for a televised debate from Cal State LA. Attorney General Kamala Harris and Representative Loretta Sanchez, both Democrats, are looking to replace Senator Barbara Boxer. The contest comes just a few days before mail-in ballots are distributed to millions of voters. We'll have the live coverage of the debate on kpbs.org starting at 7 o'clock. For nearly 25 years, the Tucson Academy downtown has given homeless teens in San Diego a place to call home. But soon it will close and reopen as apartments for homeless adults. We spoke with one of the current tenants, a San Diego high school cheerleader we introduced you to as part of our coverage on homelessness in August.
Tucson was a very, 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 very special place, and I want to thank everybody that helped us, and I just want to say that if you are a homeless teen or homeless youth out there, just because this resource is closing doesn't mean that people don't care about you. I care about you. People care about you.
We're focusing on these teens to make sure that we place them
in the appropriate situations, and then we can move forward in order to affect change in a much bigger way.
Father Joe says the program was too costly to run and will be better utilized as permanent housing for homeless adults. Staff are working to place the teens who live there with family members or in other programs. Home to many immigrants and refugees, San Diego's City Heights neighborhood is known for its diversity. Organizers there are tapping into that and launched a new weekly international food market at the edge of the community. KPBS City Heights reporter Taryn Minto is live at the market on El Cajon Boulevard and 44th Street. Taryn?
Ebony, the fair at 44 is open tonight until 8:30. Now, if you come on down, you'll see a few stands that you might recognize from other markets. But in the upcoming weeks, organizers are planning on adding a few new faces.
The first weekly celebration at El Cajon Boulevard and 44th Street featured games of cornhole and freshly prepared Salvadorian pupusas. But for City Heights resident Mireya Galvan, it's also an opportunity. The space is an incubator for locals to pursue their dreams of launching a culinary business.
She gave me money. Thank you. Yeah.
For Galvan, a single mom, that dream is selling Mexican tortas like she used to sell in Guadalajara.
This is a big milestone. Thank you to everyone who has helped me.
Those she's thanking include a series of nonprofit organizations in City Heights that helped Galvan get a microloan and start her business from scratch. Mali Ekdupanya with the City Heights Community Development Corporation is helping Galvan and other aspiring entrepreneurs go through the process.
We starting her from a business license, fictitious name, health permit, insurance, the liability insurance, the ad, anything, food handling card. So it's like from A to Z.
Avital Aboudi used to lead economic development at City Heights CDC and helped with the initial planning of the event. She says the market's goal is to tailor the incubator to the needs of the community.
So we know that in City Heights and in a lot of immigrant neighborhoods, there's a lot of street vendors, there's people selling at different events, festivals here and there, but there's not really a lot of avenues for them to establish their business and help it go to the next level to maybe eventually become a storefront.
Galvan expects to open her stand at the market next week.
To everyone who comes here, come enjoy the tortas at La Portranca Tapatía.
The name of her stand, La Portranca Tapatía, translates to the filly, like the female horse, from Guadalajara. She chose the name because it symbolizes the strength she had to overcome challenges in her life.
The market is open every Wednesday now through December. I'm Taryn Minto reporting live in City Heights.
Thank you, Taryn. Relatively mild temperatures along the coast will make way for warmer weather just in time for the weekend. Regina Miller has more of what we can expect in tonight's forecast.
Well, as we look across California, things pretty quiet for most of the area. There's been a couple of showers here to the north around Redding, and then to the south around San Diego. We see a band of some clouds there. Other than that, things have been pretty quiet. So taking a look at your forecast for tonight, partly cloudy skies, an overnight low of 62 degrees. And in San Diego County for tonight, we'll see a temperature of 56 degrees in Borrego Springs. In Oceanside, 53 degrees. We'll have a partly cloudy sky. In Mount Laguna, 37 degrees, so a chilly night there. And in San Diego, we'll be at 72 degrees, and we do have just a partly cloudy sky for tonight. Now, we had been dealing with an onshore flow, kept things relatively cool, especially along the coastline, but now we are changing over to an offshore flow, and that is going to allow things to start to warm up even as you start to get more to the coastal locations. And it looks like it's going to be warm as we head into the weekend as well, going to be quite warm. So here's your 5-day outlook for the coast, and here's what I'm talking about. Look at how the temperatures are going to be going up as we go into your Friday and Saturday. So 80 degrees and turning sunny on Thursday. Plenty of sunshine on Friday, 87 degrees. The overnight low pops up to 57, and mostly sunny sunny on Saturday, a high temperature of 88 degrees. Partly sunny on Sunday. Temperatures start to go down again as we go into early next week. Inland, we're going to go from 87 degrees on Thursday to 93 on Friday. We do have plenty of sunshine here. Overnight lows dropping into the low to mid 50s. Sunny and very warm. 92 degrees on Saturday. And once again, as we head into early next week, we will start to see it cool down just a bit. Here's the 5-day mountain outlook, and we have sunny, pleasant conditions, a temperature of 70 degrees for your Thursday. Overnight low dropping to 44 degrees. Friday, we have sunshine. It is going to be rather windy, though. We'll have to start being concerned here about a fire hazard. Temperature of 74 degrees. Sunny and windy also on Saturday. We're at 76, and then we're at 78 on Sunday with a partly sunny sky, partly sunny also on your Monday. Desert forecast, plenty of sunshine for Thursday. Sunny and windy, a high temperature of 91 for Friday. We heat up to 93, and look at Sunday. We're at 96 degrees, and it stays hot as we go from Sunday into Monday, where we're going to be keeping the heat around. Temperature of 96 degrees. I'm Regina Miller for KPBS News.
1 in 5 Americans in need of a liver transplant dies on the wait list. KPBS science reporter David Wagner says a San Diego company hopes to change that by making transplantable liver tissue in the lab.
The company is called Organovo, and their 3D printed tissue is already being used to test new drugs and cosmetics. But now the San Diego company is aiming to 3D print liver tissue for direct transplantation into people. CEO Keith Murphy says the goal is to create a patch of liver tissue that could extend a patient's life and give them more time to receive a full organ transplant.
We're not talking about replacing that patient's liver. We're talking about adding a patch of tissue that complements the existing liver's function.
Murphy says Organovo is still 3 to 5 years away from starting the human testing process for this, and any potential approval would be even further away. But to Murphy's knowledge, Organovo is the first company to announce this approach toward changing how liver transplants are done. David Wagner, KPBS News.
There's a new place in town where low-income seniors can get their dental needs taken care of for little to no cost. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg tells us about the new clinic at the Gary and Mary West Senior Wellness Center downtown.
The Wellness Center already provides meals, medical care, and mental health services for low-income seniors. The center's Dr. Karen Becerra says it makes sense to add dental care to the mix.
The mouth is not disconnected from the rest of the body, so it is important to make sure that a patient has an opportunity to have all the dental problems in their mouth addressed before they become something more complex that may end up taking them to the emergency room or may end up causing complications for any of their medical chronic conditions.
Affordable dental care for low-income seniors is hard to come by. That's because the Medicare program doesn't cover routine dental care. As a result, millions of seniors nationwide suffer from untreated cavities, gum disease, and tooth loss. The new Senior Dental Center is designed to fill in the gap. It offers checkups, fillings, even dentures.
And close.
George Michael Crouch lived for years without any teeth. Thanks to the dental center, he now has a fresh set of dentures. Crouch says he couldn't be happier.
Much better. Feeling like I'm being able to communicate. I'm able to talk to you clearly without, the slurring on it. It's just fantastic.
The Gary and Mary West Foundation provided $2 million to get the dental clinic up and running. Foundation President Shelley Lyford says the center will collect a lot of data in its first year of operation.
We know in our guts that we're just doing the right thing. We're providing services to seniors who otherwise would not be able to access them, but we want to prove without doubt that we're actually making a bigger impact and perhaps influencing and decreasing downstream healthcare costs.
The center hopes to treat 1,000 patients during its first year. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
Ahead of next month's election, when California voters decide the fate of recreational marijuana, our Cannabis at the Crossroads series returns to Humboldt County. One group wants to transform the area into the Napa Valley of cannabis. KQED's Shiraz Sadiq and Leslie McClurg take a look at the risks behind his business plan.
I created Northern Emeralds because one of the biggest problems in the cannabis industry is having consistency in product. And that's one of the hardest things to do as a farmer, especially a cannabis farmer, is creating a consistent product from yield to yield.
A keen eye and a nose for details must also be developed when catering to connoisseurs.
It's got a good nose. It's a really good quality smell. I think it's a little bit suffocated because the room was run a little bit hot. Smaller formation, not quite as dense as we'd like. I'm thinking we're looking at a gold, lower end of the gold.
Strauss and his colleagues Brian Ballou and Madison Booth grade the cannabis on a 100-point score. A platinum-grade batch can command $70 for about 3 grams at a dispensary.
There's a lot of similarities of what we do here to wine country. The way that each cannabis strain has its own terpene profile, its own unique smell.
This is a great opportunity for us to bridge the gap in all the details that are really uncharted territory in cannabis. Wine's had a long history, coffee's had a long history, and right now it's a new beginning for cannabis.
But making Humboldt County the Napa Valley of top-shelf cannabis takes a leap of faith.
What keeps me up at night right now is the unknown. It's a gamble to be involved in an industry that's not quite set yet. It's dangerous. You know somebody that's been busted. You know somebody whose livelihoods have been taken away from them.
Cannabis has been legal to use in California for medical conditions since 1996, but it took nearly 20 years for the state to overhaul its rules to allow entrepreneurs to legally profit on medical cannabis activities. In February 2016, Humboldt became the first California county to create permits for commercial medical pot cultivation.
We went through the hassle of applying for these permits because we want to be professionals. We are compliant and legal, and it's our goal to really open up to the world in a way that's safe, and having a permit's the first step in that.
Meanwhile, a green rush is taking off in the forested hills of Humboldt to grow this prized plant, which can sell for more than $2,000 a pound in California.
Humboldt County is inundated with people coming from all over the world and the nation to grow marijuana. 5-6 years ago, we had 1,000, 2,000 grows within the county. Now, the number has gone up to about 12,000 grows.
To fight the environmental impact of this green rush, Humboldt's new rules require growers to get state permits to legally take water from rivers and streams. Indoor growers also have to mitigate their carbon footprint.
We source all of our power from renewable sources. We capture up to 85% of all of the water that we feed our plants in the rooms and reuse it for the following feeding.
Even with a permit to operate openly, success is far from guaranteed in the biggest pot-growing county in the state.
There's a lot of challenges that I face as the owner of a cannabis business. One is having a little bit of prejudice against us to start with. Every step along the way, there's a premium for services rendered to us. Everything from payroll costs, taxes, insurance, workman's comp, what we can and cannot write off. People would think that we're, just raking in the dough, and it's really not that way. We've struggled to be where we are.
40 dispensaries in California sell cannabis produced by Northern Emeralds. But since it's still illegal at the federal level, earnings from cannabis can't be deposited into federally insured banks. So counting stacks of cash is an essential part of this emerging industry.
So there's a lot of safety measures that we have to put in that are very costly, very risky when you're handling in large quantities of cash.
Should be 5,000 right here.
That requires strategy and care and trust.
Despite the risks, some are seizing the opportunity right now to turn these fields of green into a crop they can more safely and openly bet on.
This gold sapphire that we graded earlier.
Put it to the test.
See how she burns.
It's a very exciting time to be in the cannabis industry. Cannabis is exiting prohibition, just like the alcohol industry. And sometimes I feel like we're pulling cannabis business out of its adolescence and into its adulthood.
Tastes pretty good.
Yeah, actually I forgot how good sapphire tastes. It's a relief that we have the opportunity to come out of the shadows. It's a lot more work, but it's a big relief, and I think the people that are going to do it are going to be really happy with the results.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next News Hour. Our series, The Fight for Iraq, continues as we're on the front lines in the battle against ISIS. That's Wednesday on the PBS News Hour.
Hundreds of people lined up in Hillcrest this morning to celebrate the return of a beloved TV series and get a free cup of joe. KPBS producer Nico Will has the story.
If you're out on the road. The Gilmore Girls are coming back. Netflix is reviving the series, and it's set to return next month. It ran for 7 years and ended in 2007, but fans have not forgotten.
We're extreme fans of Gilmore Girls. We watched them from day one when the show started. I own all the DVDs. We continuously watch it on Netflix.
Today, the streaming service transformed 200 cafes and coffee shops around the country into Luke's. That's the fictional coffee shop from the show. Industrial Grind Coffee in Hillcrest was one of 2 participating San Diego shops. There, fans of the show collected swag, bonded with other fans, and got to sit with the fictional owner.
Luke, when you finally confessed your feelings to Lorelai, we had been waiting for so long!
The show is known for its witty and quick dialogue, and for the close relationship between Lorelai and Rory, a single mom and her daughter.
I think I figured out who can be my dance partner for the marathon.
Great, who?
Bye. Come on!
Gilmore Girls, A Year in the Life premieres on Netflix on November 25th. Nico Will, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.